to another lawnfawn video. Today we are introducing our new set, Winter Skies, and its coordinating dies, so let's go ahead and check it out. So first up we have this adorable fox and raccoon cuddled together with their little scarves, and then we have the bears there, they're all wrapped up in one scarf, and then we have an individual raccoon, an individual bear, and two little trees. We also have a ton of cute snowflakes to help set the scene as they're looking up at the snowfall. I love that there's a mixture of them, and those cute little tiny ones are really adorable. There's also a little star for our night sky scenes. There's some really great sentiments in this set. We have wishing you, or wishing you and your family, a magical Christmas, winter, or holiday. We also have thinking of you this, where you could put Christmas, winter, or holiday, or hope your Christmas, winter, or holiday dreams come true. You can also put hope your dreams come true as well. There's also this great Santa and reindeer that you can stamp in the sky to help set the scene, and I love that little silhouette of Santa so much. So here I'm using my Copic markers to add some color to these cute images, and you'll see I'm laying down my lightest marker first, then my darkest, and then I'm blending out with my light. And I'm adding all my darker markers kind of underneath the scarf where there might be a shadow, or around the curves, at the curves of the tail, and all of those little curves and overlapping areas kind of help guide me as to where I'm going to put my shadow in there. For the raccoon, I'm going to be using some warm grays, but sometimes I switch it up and do neutral grays or tonal grays, just depends on what I'm feeling that day. And you'll see that then I'm doing the same idea where there's shading under the scarf and kind of around the curves, and I think it's just looking so cute. I love these two together, they're just so adorable. For the scarves, I'm going to be using my markers as well, and I'm going to do a red and a teal, and I'm going to be making sure to add a little extra shading there underneath those little lines in the scarf. So I'm going to bring in a darker marker just to put some shades right there, and you'll see that it really helped that little scarf just pop and look three-dimensional. And so I'm going to repeat the same idea here, adding in that darkest marker there right underneath those little lines and around the edge of the scarf. I wanted to leave the bears white so that they look like polar bears. So what I'm using is just my lightest warm gray markers there, and I'm going around all of those edges there of the scarf and kind of around the curve of his tail and his little foot, and then I'm blending it out into nothing with my colorless blender. So I'm doing W1 to W0 to the colorless blender, and you can see just how pretty that is. It really makes them pop and look three-dimensional, but it still makes them look like white polar bears. Now, to color in the scarf, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to paper piece them by stamping them on some pattern paper and then cutting them out with my scissors. I'm just going to fussy cut around that scarf so that I have a little pattern in my scarf, and I think this is really cute to do. I think it'd be really cute with the nitpicky fall papers too, because then the scarf would have that knit texture, but I thought this would be really pretty for the scene I want to create later, is to have this beautiful blue scarf with the fun little polka dots in it. So I'm just going to trim all around the edges of the scarf. Now my cutting is never perfect, but one of the ways I fix imperfect cutting is I take a black marker to the edges of my fussy cut image. So I'm actually going all the way around with that black marker, coloring in all the edges so that if there's any imperfections, it covers them up. I'm also using the marker there from the back of the die cut, so that way if I make a mistake and kind of twitch and kind of go over the image, I'm just going to color in the back instead of the front of my image. So I'm just going to add a little tape to that and then layer that on to my little bears. And how cute is that paper piece scarf? Oh my goodness, I love it so much. For my individual raccoon, I'm going to color him in a really similar way, but I'm going to make him just a little bit darker just to kind of play around with, and that way if later I want to layer these images, this guy looks a little bit different than the other raccoon. But I'm repeating the same idea with the same kind of shadowing, putting my lightest marker, dark, medium, and then out to light. And I just love how cute he's looking. Now for this guy, I thought it would be fun to paper piece again. So I'm going to take out some more paper from the Really Rainbow collection, and it's a red with kind of like a little crosshatch. And I'm going to stamp right on that and once again cut it out with my scissors. And so I think it's just a really fun way to mix coloring and pattern paper with the scarf. It's just adorable. So once again, I'm just going to trim right around those images, then I'll line it with the black marker to kind of cover up any imperfections, and then glue that right down onto my little raccoon. Now for my bear, I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I'm going to make him kind of like a light brown bear. So I've got my E53 and E51, and you'll see there how cute he looks. I love that the bear, you can really go from different shades of brown all the way into white. And in this case, I'm going to color in his scarf a nice bright green, which I think looks really pretty with the brown bear. My favorite greens for these trees are the YG63 and 67. I think they just is the perfect color for kind of like a Christmas tree. And I'm just adding a little shading under the ridges of the tree where they kind of overlap. And then I'll just color in those trunks. And then I can take out my coordinating dies, which I can bend apart at the tabs, or I can use my wire snips to separate them. I'm going to take my little dies there, line them up with my stamped images, hold them in place with some low tack tape, and then I'll run it through my die cut machine and I'll have some perfectly cut out images. Here you can see all of the images from the set and just how cute they are with those little snowflakes in the background or looking up at Santa, which is just adorable. I also love that you can layer them to create a cute little family as well. So I like to layer the smaller ones behind the larger one, and it looks like a nice big grouping of critters there, and you'll see just how cute that one looks too. So I think they're just adorable that way. So now it's time to make a card, and I want to create a card with those little white bears that we paper piece the scarf. So I thought to kind of go along with the paper piece scarf, I would also paper piece some trees. So I'm stamping some trees out onto some tree paper. So I think that's kind of funny too that there's trees on the tree. And I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to cut them out with my scissors, and then I'll go ahead and layer them on top of the die cuts. And I think that looks really, really cute and kind of ties in the paper piece scarf to the whole card. So after I have all of these done, I want to create a really cool night sky with little snowfall for these guys to be looking up at. So I'm going to use the largest outside in stitched rectangle, and I'm going to die cut that from some white cardstock. I'm also going to die cut a little moon there out of some white cardstock as well. And I'm going to place that moon about where I think I want to have it, and I'm going to make some little tick marks that are going to be hidden by the moon eventually, because it's going to give me a guide as to where I'm going to do some of my distress inking. I'm going to be using Salty Ocean, Faded Jeans, and Black Soot to create this sky. And I'm going to start with that Salty Ocean in the middle because I want there to be a glow coming out from the moon. So I'm going to take my little ink blending tool, tap it off on the side, start in the center, and go around in a big circle to create this kind of glow of where that moon is going to be later on. And I'm going to keep adding color and building it up until it has that nice bright blue color that I want for behind the moon. Then next, to start creating my night sky, I'm going to take the Faded Jeans color and come out from the outside into the middle. And I'm going to stop right where that light blue is. And then I'll take the light blue color and blend that back out. I'm going to put my moon on there to kind of see how it's looking and then kind of keep adding color. So I'll keep adding the darker blue and then the lighter blue. The finishing touch then is to add some black soot all around the edges, and that black around the edges really makes it look like a night sky. I kind of added a little bit too much black, so I went back in with the darker blue, the Faded Jeans, and I went over that blue and kind of toned it down, and then once it dried a little lighter and it looked really good. So here I have my snowfall backdrop die. I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and now I have these awesome little snow pieces cut out of my sky. I'm going to add a bunch of liquid glue to the back of this and then layer some white cardstock so that through those holes we have white cardstock peeking out to be the snowfall in our nice night sky. Now for the moon, I didn't want to leave it just plain white, so I have some tumbled glass distressing, which is a super light blue, and I'm just going to lightly ink the edges of the moon. That's going to kind of help it blend into that bright blue that we created on the sky and help keep it from being just a plain boring white circle die cut. Then next up, I'm going to be stamping out my cute little Santa and reindeer. And then I can start to work on my snowy sky. So here I have my really rainbow paper, and for my snow I want to use some pattern paper, and I love this white one with the gray stars on it. So I'm going to die cut that with that same outside in stitched rectangle, and then I'm going to die cut that again with some of my stitched hillside borders in a bunch of the different styles that I have. So I've got kind of a bumpy one going in one way and going the other, and then I'll use more of a slope, and then I can layer all of these together to really have the look of a bunch of little snowbanks there. So now that I have all of my pieces cut, I'm going to layer those on, and because I die cut it from that stitched rectangle, we'll have stitching going all the way around the card, which is really pretty. So I'm going to take the last two pieces, layer those two together, and then pop up both of those just to give the card a little extra dimension. And then now I can start to add all of my little die cuts to create my scene. And today we are recreating a card by Yanea, so thank you so much, Yanea, for letting us recreate this card for the video. We love it. So now it's time to add that awesome moon, and you'll see how cool it's going to look with that glow coming out from the background. And then I need to do my sentiment. So I am going to be stamping out "Wishing you a magical holiday" out in some nice sticky clear embossing ink. I'm going to add some white heat embossing powder and then heat that up with my heat tool. And then I can go ahead and cut it out with a sentiment banner die. So I'll run that through my die cut machine and I'll have that awesome sentiment banner there, which then we can layer with some foam dots across the moon. Next, I'll layer those little polar bears there so they can look up at the snow and up at Santa. And then here we have a standard size card base at 5.5 by 4.25, cut from some of the new craft cardstock. And then we'll layer our whole scene on top of that. And I love the look of the craft, the blue and the white. I think it's just so beautiful and this card makes me smile so much. So when we first came up with this set, one of the things I really wanted to do was create a shadow box card with it. So we're going to be doing that now. And first up, I'm going to be creating an awesome sky for the inside of my shadow box using shaded lilac, broken china, and faded jeans distress oxide inks. You'll see that I'm kind of going in with all the colors, some purple, some turquoise, some blue, kind of just doing it haphazard until I like how it looks. So there you'll see I've got the purple and now the turquoise, and then we'll bring in some of that kind of darker blue color. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. It kind of looks awesome no matter what you do. Now to finish it off, we of course need some snow in the sky. So I'm going to take some water here with my pearlized watercolor that I'm obsessed with using lately. And I'm going to take my paintbrush there, get a bunch of water in the paint, pick up some of that paint, and then tap the paintbrush until I have these beautiful splatters. To kind of finish out the scene, I'm also going to tap it into one of the gold paints there as well, since I'm going to do my Santa in gold later, and I think it's going to look really, really cool, and it really just kind of brightens up the sky just to have a little bit of the gold. I just did a teeny tiny bit. So as those dry, I'm going to start create my shadow box, and I'm die cutting this from some of the new woodgrain cardstock in the white color. So I've die cut one of the pieces, and now I'm going to die cut one with the rectangle opening in it. I'm going to fold along the score lines that the die created for me. So there's one just about in the center, and then there's a little tab on the side on both of the pieces. Once those are folded, we can add some nice strong tape to those two skinny little tabs. So I'm going to use some 1/8 inch score tape here and add that to both of the tabs. Then I want to connect these two pieces to create one long piece. I'm going to butt them up against each other, peel off that liner paper, just like that, and then push that tab down to connect them to create one long piece. Now I'm going to decorate the inside, and so those panels that we created earlier are going to be on the inside of this box. And those panels are 2 1/8 by 2 3/4 almost, and then 3 1/4 by 2 3/4 almost. I'm also going to die cut the little hill pieces that are included with the shadow box card there out of some pixie dust sparkle cardstock, and I'm going to fold along the little two tabs on both the left and the right. And then I'll add some nice strong tape to those tabs on both of my hills. Once my hills have the adhesive on them, I can pull off the liner tape on the left side of the hill, and I'm going to attach that into the box just like that. So I've got one higher than the other to kind of give some nice dimension in the box. I'll then fold both hills flat, remove that liner paper exposing the adhesive, and then fold the edge of my box down, picking up that adhesive. The reason I like to form the box flat like this is that way I know that it's always going to fold flat. So I like to form it this way, and I find it the easiest way to make sure that those little hills are in the perfect placement. So my little fox and raccoon were a little too tall, so I made a little mark, and I'm just going to cut their tails off, which I know sounds kind of creepy, but it's going to look really cute once you put it in the box and no one's going to realize that that part is missing. And you can see just how cute this is looking. I'm also going to cut some birch trees out of some white cardstock, and we're going to be using those to help the scene. But first I wanted to stamp out Santa, so I'm stamping in some nice clear embossing ink, and I'm going to use some gold embossing powder, and then I'll heat that up with my heat tool. You'll see that I first tried silver and didn't like silver that much, so I decided to switch to gold. I'm going to use the coordinating die and run that through my die cut machine, and you can see how cute that's looking. I'll add some adhesive to the back of the Santa, and there I have a piece of acetate that's cut to 1/2 inch wide that I'm going to layer on there and then attach to the back of the hill that's in the back. And it's going to make it appear as if Santa is floating. And then I'll just trim off any of that extra of the acetate. I'll add some adhesive to my birch trees and layer those in the background to help set the scene. And I love how it looks like Santa is just floating in there. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. And then here you can see as we start to add these birch trees how it's really starting to fill in the scene. So I'm going to add them in there and then trim off any excess. And I'm also going to add birch trees into the side of the box. And I think that's really going to help make this box feel really cool and really three-dimensional. So I'm just going to add those trees in and then trim off any excess. And I'll do the same thing on the right side of the box. And then I can trim off any excess there. I decided I didn't want a sentiment on the front of this card. I really just wanted it to be the really pretty and cute scene. So I wanted to put my sentiment on the back in an area where I could write a message. So I'm going to use that same window die that we used to create the shadow box card, and I'm going to die cut some white cardstock from that. And I'm going to stamp a sentiment that's actually from the Say What Christmas Critters because I thought it went really, really well with this scene, and that's the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I'm going to heat emboss that in gold to match the gold Santa on the front, and I think it's looking so pretty. And then I have that area in the back where I can write my message, and I'm going to just attach that to the back of the shadow box card, and you'll see just how pretty that is. So we've got the awesome shadow box with that great 3D element there with all of those awesome birch trees and that beautiful blue sky on the inside. And then on the back, we have our cute sentiment and our area to write our little message. The other thing I love about this card is that it folds flat and it fits in a standard size envelope with standard postage, but when the recipient pulls it out of the envelope, it's going to pop up and be this awesome three-dimensional card and a beautiful decoration for the holidays too. So next up we have a fun card by Shari, and because we had our distress inks out, we had to get distress inky again. So we're going to create a sky here with tumbled glass and broken china. We'll add the ink on with a foam ink bending tool, having the lightest color towards the kind of middle of the cardstock and then the darkest color up towards the top, which I think is looking really pretty there. And it's going to be a great kind of sun-setting night sky for our critters to be looking up at. Here we have these stitched mountain borders. We've die cut that from some white cardstock, and this is shaded lilac, and we're going to add that color on to the mountains to create these beautiful purple mountains. To give them a little extra definition, we'll bring in a darker purple, seedless preserves, and add that just to the tops of the mountains, and you'll see that's going to really make them pop. To make it look like either snow or stars in the sky, we're going to take out that same pearlized watercolor we've added some water to, but this time we're going to add it to the edge of the block and then flick the paint off of the edge of the block. And you'll see how cool that is. It gives a really cool splattered look, which I really, really love, and it's really nice and easy to do. So I love that there's two methods, either this kind of flicking method or where you could tap the paintbrush. We've die cut the snow caps out of some of the pixie dust sparkle cardstock, and we're going to attach those to the mountains to have some beautiful sparkly snow. And then we can add those mountains to our awesome, really beautiful kind of starry, snowy sky. We die cut some hills using the stitched hillside border dies and that same beautiful pixie dust sparkle cardstock, and we're going to layer those two hills onto the scene. So we've got one going one way and then the slope going the other way. Next up, we're going to stamp the Have a Magical Winter sentiment on this. So I love that you could use this for winter cards or for Christmas holiday cards, just depending on what you need. We're going to add a little house there that's from the Winter Village stamp set and the moon from the Winter Village as well, which looks really cute with those little mountains. And then we can add our characters from Winter Skies on here. And I just love these little guys, how their tails are crossing. I know I said that earlier, but oh my goodness, it's so cute. And then we're going to add the other little raccoon there to kind of create the whole family feel with the three of them there. And then we can add some little trees to help set our scene for these guys. And I love the non-traditional colors of this card and all that beautiful sparkle with the splatters and that beautiful pixie dust cardstock too. So next up we have some awesome cards from the design team, and this one here is the Double Slider Surprise card we created in the intro to Double Slider Surprise video, and you can see how fun this set is. For that you can have Santa popping out from the top and a really fun sentiment coming out from the bottom. Here we have a beautiful card by Nicole. It's just so cute, and I love how she added the polka dots to the scarf. This card by Elise is so pretty. I love the vellum over the mountains in the Santa. It's just gorgeous. And then this card by Shari is the one that inspired me to make my double slider. She's got the bears on there instead. And then here you can see the Santa and the fun sentiment coming out from the bottom. This card by Elena is so beautiful. I love her bright blue sky with that snowfall backdrop and then the Santa in silver going across. I love how Elise created this beautiful sky there with some little water splatters that she added to her distress ink. It's just gorgeous. And this card by Kristen is so fun. I love that she created her own pattern paper with the snowflake stamps that are in the set. This card by Letitia is so cute. I love how she has that little rectangle of watercolor in the center. Megan got super creative and created a fall card with this set. I love that this set could work for fall as well. And then here, Jen used these guys with the new snowflake add-on for the reveal wheel. They are perfect for this reveal wheel add-on. I love how Melissa created a scallop box card pop-up with Santa flying in the air with the little acetate holding it up. It's so cool. And this non-traditional color combo of purple is so awesome with those polar bears. I love this card by Audrey. Kay created a beautiful card using the snowfall backdrop and combining them with the Christmas tree from Christmas Dreams, which I just love. And then this is the card by Yanea that inspired us to make our card today. So I cannot wait to see what you guys do with winter skies, so make sure to share it with us. Thank you so much for watching today and have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!